The last time I saw my mother's face before the reunion was through the rear window of a Greyhound bus. I was 14. She was standing in the driveway of the house I grew up in, her arms crossed, her expression a mixture of relief and grim satisfaction. My brother Marcus was beside her, one hand raised in a limp wave that felt more like a goodbye than a salute. My father wasn't there. He was already at work, or so my mother said. The truth was simpler. He couldn't be bothered. I was the problem. The difficult one. The one who talked back, who wore ripped jeans and too much eyeliner, who got into fights with kids who called me weird. Marcus was the golden child. Captain of the debate team, straight A's, bound for a pre-law track at a university they'd already started touring when he was a sophomore. When he forgot my birthday, it was because he was under so much pressure. When I got a C in math, it was because I was lazy and ungrateful. The final straw wasn't even dramatic. I'd been caught smoking behind the gym with a group of kids my parents deemed undesirable. My mother, a woman who valued appearances above all else, saw it as a personal attack on her reputation at the country club. My father, a man who communicated in grunts and silences, just looked at me with a profound disappointment that felt worse than anger. So they sent me away to live with my aunt, my mother's older sister, in a small, dusty town in Nevada. My aunt was the family secret, the one who'd married for love instead of money and lived in a trailer park. It was meant to be a punishment, a dose of reality to scare me straight. Instead, it saved me. Aunt Ruth didn't care about my grades or my clothes. She cared that I showed up for dinner and that I fed the chickens. She was a seamstress, a woman of incredible patience and quiet wisdom. In her cramped living room, surrounded by bolts of fabric and the hum of her old singer, I stopped being the black sheep and just became me. I got my GED. I worked at a diner. And I started designing clothes. I'd sketch on napkins, then on butcher paper. Ruth taught me to sew, to take my chaotic ideas and give them structure. We'd stay up late drinking cheap coffee, as she helped me bring my first real pieces to life. She believed in my talent with a ferocity that startled me. "You see the world differently, honey," she'd say. "That's not a curse. That's the whole damn point." By the time I was 22, I'd moved to LA and started my own label. It was a slow burn, years of sleeping on couches, selling pieces at flea markets, and building a brand one stitch at a time. My line, Ruthless, was in homage to her. It was edgy, feminine, and built for women who'd been told they were too much. 10 years later, it was a household name. The call came on a Tuesday. I was in my studio in Manhattan preparing for Fashion Week. It was my mother. Her voice hadn't changed. It still had that sharp, performative edge. She'd seen a profile of me in a magazine. The headline was something insipid like "From Teenage Outcast to Fashion Icon." "Sweetheart," she'd cooed, the words sounding foreign and wrong in my ear. "We are just so proud of you. We've been trying to find you for years." The lie was so effortless, so practiced, that it almost made me laugh. My number had been the same for 5 years. I'd sent Aunt Ruth a Christmas card every single year, with my return address on it. They hadn't tried. She wanted to reconnect. She wanted to throw a party, a welcome home celebration. My father got on the phone, his voice gruff with an emotion I didn't trust. "Your mother's right. It's time to put the past behind us. We're family." I should have said no. But a traitorous 14-year-old part of me, the one who'd watched them from that bus window, just wanted to be seen, to be chosen. I agreed to a dinner. It was held at their pristine, manicured home. Everything was beige and white, like a museum exhibit of a life. The golden child Marcus was there. He was a lawyer now, just as planned, but his eyes had a hollow, tired look. He'd married a woman named Chloe, a brittle blonde who spent the evening on her phone. He shook my hand stiffly, and I saw the flicker of something in his gaze. Not the old superiority, but a quiet, panicked envy. His life was the blueprint, and it had left him empty. My parents fawned over me. My mother kept touching my arm, asking about the celebrities I dressed, the galas I'd attended. My father laughed too loudly at my anecdotes. They didn't ask about Aunt Ruth. They didn't ask how I'd survived. They wanted the highlights reel, the one they could claim credit for. She gets her tenacity from me. My father boasted to a neighbor who'd been invited as a witness to our reconciliation. The drama when it came was spectacular. My mother, emboldened by 2 glasses of Chardonnay, suggested a family collaboration. Perhaps I could design a line for her charity gala? Perhaps Marcus could handle the legal contracts for my business? It was a hostile takeover disguised as an olive branch. They didn't want me, they wanted a piece of what I'd built. That's when I met Leo. Leo was the landscaper. I'd stepped outside to escape the suffocating performance inside, and found him carefully pruning a rose bush that was about to be eviscerated by my father's hedger the next day. He had kind eyes and dirt under his fingernails, and when I asked him about the roses, he launched into a passionate 15-minute explanation about heirloom varieties and the importance of deadheading. He had no idea who I was. He'd never heard of my label. When I told him my name, he just smiled and said, "Nice to meet you. I'm Leo." "You're one of the family, then? You have that same look around the eyes." It wasn't a compliment, but it was honest. We talked for an hour, sitting on the cold stone bench by the dormant garden. He told me about his mother's battle with Alzheimer's, about the small nursery he was trying to start, about his love for things that grew slowly and required patience. It was the most real conversation I'd had in years. Inside, the farce continued. I finally confronted them. I told them I remembered the bus, the silence, the abandonment. My mother's face crumpled, but not with remorse, with indignation. "How can you be so cruel? We gave you everything. We gave you a second chance with Ruth." My father just stared at his shoes. Marcus looked at the floor, unable to meet my eyes. Chloe just kept scrolling. I left. I walked out of that beige museum and didn't look back. I found Leo loading his truck. He saw my face and didn't ask questions. He just handed me a thermos of surprisingly good coffee he'd made and said, "Rough night. We've been together for 3 years now." He's my anchor, the one person who loves the woman I became, not the brand I built. He proposed in his nursery, surrounded by the tiny, stubborn shoots of his first successful hybrid rose. My family tried to reach out again once. A letter forwarded by my lawyer. My father had passed away. The letter, written in my mother's perfect cursive, was less a mourning and more a bill. It detailed the cost of the funeral, implying it was my responsibility as the successful one. I didn't respond. I felt a flicker of something, sadness perhaps, for the little girl who'd once wanted a dad who would just look at her. But it passed. Aunt Ruth walked me down the aisle at our small wedding. Marcus showed up without Chloe. He stood in the back and afterwards he hugged me. A real hug. "I was so jealous of you," he whispered, his voice cracking. "You got out. You got to be yourself. We're not close, but we exchange emails now." He's in therapy, trying to figure out who he is without the golden child label. I still design. I still pour my memories and my rage and my love into every piece. But now when I go home, it's not to a sterile apartment. It's to a house full of Leo's plants and the lingering scent of his coffee. The black sheep didn't just survive. She found her flock. And it's a beautiful, wild, and unexpected garden.